has come at a huge cost, a cost paid by the land and the people who live on it. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into a really critical question. What happens after the coal is all gone? This is the story of India's Black Diamond Dilemma, and a pretty incredible opportunity for transformation that's hidden just beneath the surface.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with a thought experiment. Except, this one isn't hypothetical. What if the very ground under your feet, under your whole town, was secretly being hollowed out, putting you just one wrong move away from total disaster?
Well, for the 100,000 people living in Talcher, Odisha, that's not a what-if, it's their daily reality. Decades of mining for coal underground have left these enormous empty voids right under their homes, their schools, their streets, and experts are warning that even a small tremor could bring the whole town crashing down. I mean, this isn't just some environmental problem, it's a ticking time bomb.
So to really get our heads around this, we're going to start by looking at the human price of coal, and then dig into a broken promise of support. After that, we'll pivot to a new vision for these mines, see how we can turn these wastelands into something wonderful, and finally, lay out a real path to restoration. Let's get started.
Before we can even start talking about the future, we have to look at the reality on the ground right now. You see, the cost of coal isn't just measured in tons. It's measured in lives completely uprooted, in health that's been destroyed, and in communities that have been torn apart.
Let's start with this number. Nearly 6,000 in just 5 years in one single district in Odisha. Almost 6,000 families were forced out of their homes to make way for coal mining. And this isn't just about moving houses. It's about wiping entire communities off the map.
And the fallout from that is just devastating. When a village is displaced, it's not just the buildings that are lost. It's the entire social fabric, you know? The community bonds, the shared culture, the support systems people rely on, they just vanish. The cash they get often isn't nearly enough to start a new life somewhere more expensive. Livelihoods like farming are gone for good, and crucially, women often lose access to local health workers they trust, and kids' schooling gets thrown into complete chaos. And for the people who manage to stay, who live near these mines, the very air they breathe becomes the enemy. The constant dust from open-cast mining isn't just an annoyance. As this quote makes crystal clear, it's a direct cause of severe, chronic diseases that can hang over these communities for generations.
And when it comes to forcing communities to sell their land, the system itself is just broken. And what's really wild here is the sheer difference in what people get. So in Odisha, a family might get about 11 lakh rupees for an acre of their land. But in Telangana, for similar land, the compensation is over 6 times higher. This isn't just a small policy difference. It's a huge statement about how little these communities and their land are valued.
Okay, so the damage is obvious, right? And the financial injustice is staring us in the face. But aren't there systems supposed to be in place to help? Well, in this next part, we're going to see how a promise to support these communities has been completely shattered by misused funds and really bad planning.
So first, let's talk about something called the District Mineral Foundation, or DMF. The idea is simple. It's a fund, and the money comes directly from mining companies. And it has one very clear legal purpose: to help the people and the areas that are directly hit by all this mining. It's supposed to be for their health, their schools, their futures. But just look at where the money is actually going. This table shows a really clear and frustrating pattern. The funds that are supposed to help villages choking on pollution are instead being used to build an international stadium in a city. Money that should be for basic needs is redirected to power an airport or buy police cars for an urban area. It boils down to this: the very money meant to heal the wounds of mining is being spent on things that have nothing to do with the people who are suffering the most.
All right, so the money's a mess, but what about the land itself? Every single mine is legally required to have what's called a mine closure plan, or MCP. This is supposed to be the official blueprint for making sure the land is safe and environmentally sound after all the mining stops.
But this chart, well, it tells the real shocking story. It's based on actual plans from mines in Ramgarh. And look at that. Nearly 60% of the land is just planned to be left as dumps and giant holes in the ground. The so-called plan isn't to actually restore the land so people can use it again. It's basically to just walk away and leave this massive, ugly, unusable scar on the landscape.
I know, this all sounds incredibly bleak. But what if there's another way? And this, for me, is the most exciting part of the story: a completely new vision for these mines, a pivot from that black, scarred earth to green, thriving spaces.
Just look at the contrast here. On the left, that's the reality for so many of India's abandoned mines today. They're derelict, they're decaying, they're dangerous. But on the right,
That's the potential. That's a former coal mine in Germany, and it's now a bustling museum and cultural hub. This isn't just cleaning up a mess. This is total reinvention.
That German example is so inspiring, but the big question is, how do we make that vision a reality here in India? So this next part is all about moving from the what if to the how do, exploring the actual practical steps we could take to turn these wastelands into places people actually want to go.
And what's really cool is that this kind of thinking is already happening at the highest levels. The Indian government is actively looking at repurposing these lands for things like ecotourism, fish farming, huge solar farms, and so much more. The potential to build brand new green economies on top of these old industrial sites is absolutely enormous.
Let's go back to that German mine for a second because it is such a powerful proof of concept. The Zoller mine didn't just clean up an old industrial site, it created a whole new economic engine for the area. It brings in tourists, it creates new jobs, and it preserves a piece of history. It turned a symbol of the past into a beacon for the future.
And the scale of this opportunity in India is just massive. We're talking about nearly 300 abandoned mines that cover huge stretches of land. The trick here is to stop seeing this land as a liability, as a problem that needs to be managed, and start seeing it for what it really is, a valuable asset just waiting for a new life.
So how do we get there? I mean, a vision like this needs more than just good ideas. It needs a concrete plan. This final section lays out a clear blueprint for what's called a just transition.
It really boils down to 4 key things. First, you have to fix the land laws so the land can actually be given back to the state to be redeveloped. Second, the closure plans themselves have to be redesigned to get the most usable land back, not just to make it stable. Third, and this is so important, you have to bring the community into the process so they help create new jobs and opportunities for themselves. And finally, you have to reform labor rights to give security to the workers as this whole industry changes.
And that, right there, is the whole idea of a just transition. It's not just about planting a few trees on an old mine. It's about making sure that as we shift to a greener economy, we're healing the environment and rebuilding the communities, creating new, sustainable jobs for the very people who sacrificed the most during the age of coal.
You see, these dark tunnels, which were once all about taking something from the earth, could become the literal foundation for something completely new. They represent a past that was built on carbon, but their transformation can be a symbol of a future built on restoration, on community, and on sustainability.
Which leaves us with one final vital question. The scars that coal mining has left across India's land and its people, they run incredibly deep. But the opportunity is just as profound. Can the nation actually turn these symbols of environmental damage into shining examples of green innovation and social justice? The answer to that question is going to define India's future.